Imagine finding a woman dead in a remote valley. There is no identification, no passport, no family searching for her, and almost every label on her belongings has been removed. Then investigators discover that before her death, she had been traveling across Europe under different names, changing her appearance and leaving behind clues that seem to point in several different directions. Was she hiding from someone? Was she hiding from the authorities? Or was she simply trying to disappear? More than 50 years later, we still don't know. Hello everyone, welcome to Mysteon. Today we are investigating one of Norway's strangest unsolved mysteries, the case of the Isdal Woman. And the deeper investigators looked, the less certain her story became. The discovery. On November 29, 1970, a man and his two daughters were hiking through Isdalen, a remote valley near Bergen, Norway. Then they noticed something unusual. There was a burning smell. When they investigated, they discovered the body of an unidentified woman lying among the rocks. Her body had been badly burned, making identification extremely difficult. Police arrived and began examining the scene. Several belongings were found nearby: clothing, shoes, bottles, an umbrella, and some jewelry, and other personal items. But almost immediately, investigators noticed something strange. Labels had been removed from her clothing. Identifying marks on other belongings had also been erased or destroyed. It was as if someone had deliberately tried to remove every connection between the woman and her real identity. Forensic examination revealed that she had taken a large amount of sleeping medication containing phenobarbital. Investigators also found soot in her lungs, suggesting that she had been alive when the fire occurred. But even after determining how she had died, police still couldn't answer the most important question: who was she? The suitcases. 3 days after the discovery, police found two suitcases connected to the woman at the Bergen railway station. Inside were clothes, cosmetics, wigs, glasses, foreign currency, travel information, and a notebook containing strange coded entries. Again, many identifying labels had been removed. There were also several different currencies. One pair of sunglasses contained fingerprints that matched those taken from the unidentified woman. The suitcases were clearly connected to her, but instead of revealing her identity, they created an even bigger mystery. Why would someone travel with wigs and different clothing? Why remove the labels from almost everything? And why carry belongings that seem designed to make identification more difficult? Police began looking closely at her movements, and what they discovered made the case even stranger: the names. Investigators examined hotel records and reconstructed parts of the woman's journey. She had stayed at hotels under different names. These were not simply variations of one identity. She appeared to have used several completely different names while traveling through Europe. Her notebook helped investigators connect some of these names and movements. Suddenly, this was not simply a case of an unidentified woman. It appeared that she had taken deliberate steps to conceal who she was, and that immediately raised a disturbing possibility. Was she hiding because someone was looking for her, or was there another reason? One theory would eventually become specially famous. But before getting there, investigators had to understand where this woman came from. The clues in her teeth. For decades, her identity remained unknown. Then modern forensic science gave investigators a new way to investigate her past. Researchers studied isotopes preserved in her teeth. These chemical signatures can provide clues about where a person spent parts of their childhood. The results suggested that the woman may have been born around the early 1930s and had spent her early years in an area around the France-Germany border, with evidence pointing toward the Nuremberg region. It was an extraordinary development. For the first time, investigators could learn something about her childhood without knowing her name. But science still couldn't answer the question that mattered most. Why had she ended up in Norway? Was she a spy? The Cold War was at its height when the woman died. Norway was strategically important, and the woman had apparently traveled under multiple identities. She carried wigs, her clothing labels had been removed, she had used different names, her movements appeared unusual, and she died without revealing who she was. Put all of those details together, and it is easy to understand why people began asking whether she could have been involved in espionage. Perhaps she was an intelligence operative. Perhaps she was carrying information or someone wanted her identity to remain hidden. But there is an important problem with this theory. There is no confirmed evidence proving that she was a spy. No publicly verified intelligence record has definitely identified as her an operative. And there is no conclusive evidence showing that she was murdered because of her espionage. The spy theory is fascinating, but it remains a theory. There are other possibilities. She may have been involved in criminal activity. She may have had personal reasons for using different identities. Or perhaps she was an explanation for her behavior that investigators simply never discovered. Her final days. Investigators continued tracing her movements through hotel records and witness accounts. She had been traveling across Europe and had used several different names. Eventually, her movements brought her back to Bergen. Then on November 29, she was found dead in Isdal. What happened during her final hours remains uncertain. Was she alone? Did she go into the valley willingly? Did someone meet her there? And was the fire intended to destroy evidence? The original investigation considered suicide a possibility, particularly because of the sleeping pills and the forensic findings. But the strange circumstances surrounding her identity left questions that never disappeared. The mystery that remains. The investigation eventually came to an end. The unidentified woman was burned in Bergen in a zinc coffin so that her remains could potentially be examined again if new evidence appeared. Decades passed, then modern forensic techniques brought new clues about her origins and movements, but one crucial piece was still missing: her name. We know she traveled under aliases. We know she carried wigs and belongings with identifying marks removed. We know investigators found coded information among her possessions. We know she died in mysterious circumstances in Isdal, but we still don't know exactly why she was there. Maybe she was running from someone. Maybe she was protecting a secret. Maybe the spy theory is completely wrong, or perhaps the truth is much more ordinary than people imagine. That's what makes the Isdal woman so fascinating. There are enough clues to build theories, but not enough evidence to prove one. More than 50 years later, the woman remains unidentified. A person with a life, a history, relationships, memories, and a real name, all of which have somehow disappeared. Today we know her only by the place where her story ended, the Isdal woman. A woman who traveled under different names, left behind clues nobody could completely explain, and died without revealing the one thing investigators needed the most: her identity. If you enjoyed this video, make sure to like the video, subscribe to Mysteon and turn on notifications so you don't miss our next mystery. And tell me in the comments, who do you think the Isdal woman really was? And I will see you in the next video.